He told me I was beautiful before he asked what I did for a living. That should have been my first red flag. My name is Emma Castellano. I'm 33 years old, and I'm worth approximately $4.2 billion. But when Alexander Harrington met me, he thought I was nobody, and I let him. Let me back up. I inherited Castellano Properties Group when I was 25. My father, Dominic Castellano, built it from nothing, started with one apartment building in Queens in the 80s. By the time he died, he owned 217 properties across Manhattan, Brooklyn, and parts of New Jersey. Office buildings, luxury apartments, commercial spaces, retail, hotels. If you live or work in New York, there's a decent chance you're in one of my buildings right now. When my father died suddenly, stroke, no warning, I was finishing my MBA. My mother had passed years before. I had no siblings. It all came to me. The lawyers, the board members, the old guard executives, they all assumed I'd sell, that I'd cash out and disappear, that I was too young, too inexperienced, too female to run an empire. I fired half of them in the first 6 months, and I doubled our revenue in 3 years. But here's the thing about being a young woman running a multi-billion-dollar company in New York. Everyone wants something from you: a deal, an investment, a partnership, a marriage. After the third guy tried to pitch me his startup on a first date, I stopped telling people who I was. I wanted to meet someone who liked me, not my portfolio. So I created a cover. Emma Castellano, Property Management Assistant at Castellano Properties Group. It wasn't technically a lie. I did work for the company. I just left out the part where I owned it. I rented a modest one-bedroom in the West Village. I dressed like a normal person. I took the subway. I lived like the person Alexander thought I was. And for a while, it was kind of nice. I met him at a coffee shop in Tribeca on a Saturday morning. I was reading. He was waiting for his order. Our eyes met. He smiled. "Is that any good?" he asked, nodding at my book. "It's okay. Little pretentious." He laughed. Most things in this neighborhood are. We talked for 20 minutes. He was charming, confident but not arrogant. He worked in finance, grew up in Manhattan, went to Columbia. He asked for my number before he asked my last name. We went on our first date 3 days later. Dinner in the West Village. Nothing too fancy. He was attentive, asked questions, seemed genuinely interested. And when he finally asked what I did for work, I said, "I work in property management, administrative stuff mostly." He nodded, smiled, didn't ask follow-up questions. I liked that. We dated for 3 months before he introduced me to his family. The Harringtons were old money. Not Rockefeller old, but old enough to act like it. Alexander's great-grandfather made a fortune in shipping. His grandfather diversified into finance. His father, Richard, ran Harrington Capital, a mid-sized investment firm that managed family money and a few select clients. They lived on the Upper East Side, a classic 6 in a pre-war building that screamed generational wealth. Doorman, marble lobby, the kind of place where everyone knew everyone, and outsiders were immediately clocked. Alexander warned me before we went. "My mother can be particular. Just be yourself. She'll love you." I wore a simple dress, nothing flashy. I wanted to look appropriate, but not like I was trying too hard. His mother, Diane, opened the door. She was elegant in that brittle, over-preserved way. Blonde hair, expensive jewelry, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Alexander, darling." She kissed his cheek. Then she looked at me. "And you must be Emma?" "It's so nice to meet you, Mrs. Harrington." "Diane, please." She stepped aside. "Come in." The apartment was exactly what I expected. Antiques, art that was valuable but not interesting, everything carefully curated to project status. Alexander's father was in the living room. Tall, silver hair, firm handshake. He asked what I did before he asked my name. "I work in property management," I said. "Oh, administrative work?" "Yes." He nodded, lost interest immediately, turned back to Alexander. "So, the Whitmore deal, are they still being difficult about the terms?" I was dismissed. Alexander's sister, Charlotte, arrived 20 minutes later. She was 28, worked in PR, had the kind of confidence that comes from never being told no. She looked me up and down. "Cute dress. Zara?" "I don't remember." She turned to her mother. "Are we eating soon? I have a thing at 8. Dinner was painful. They talked about people I didn't know, places I hadn't been, deals and investments and social dynamics I was supposed to understand through osmosis. I mostly listened, smiled when appropriate, answered questions politely, but I could feel Diane watching me, cataloging, judging. After dinner, she pulled Alexander aside. I couldn't hear the conversation, but I could read her body language. She didn't approve. On the way home, Alexander was quiet. "Your mother hates me," I said. "She doesn't hate you, she just needs time to warm up." "Alexander," he sighed, "she thinks you're not. She's worried you're with me for the wrong reasons." "The wrong reasons?" "She thinks you're. Look, my family has money. People know that. And sometimes people get close to us because of that. She's protective." I stared at him. "You think I'm a gold digger?" "I don't think that, but my mother. Your mother thinks I'm after your money because I work an administrative job? Emma, it's not personal. It's literally personal." He reached for my hand. "Just give her time. She'll come around, I promise." I didn't believe him, but I also wasn't ready to walk away yet. 3 weeks later, Charlotte tagged me in an Instagram story. It was a photo from dinner, me slightly out of focus in the background. The caption, "When your brother brings home a girl who works in property management. Death." Subtle. I didn't respond, but Alexander called her. They fought. She took it down. But the message was clear. I wasn't good enough. I didn't belong, and his family was making sure I knew it. The charity gala was in late October. The Harrington Foundation annual fundraiser, black tie, 500 guests, held at the Metropolitan Club. Alexander asked me to go with him. I hesitated. "My family will be there," I said. "I know, but I want you there. I want them to see us together, to see that this is real." I should have said no, but I wanted to see how far they'd go, so I said yes. I wore a black gown, simple, elegant, not trying to compete with the other women who'd spent tens of thousands on dresses and jewelry. The Metropolitan Club was exactly as pretentious as I expected. Chandeliers, marble, waitstaff in white gloves, everyone dressed like they were attending a royal wedding. Alexander introduced me to people, friends, business associates, donors, and every single time the conversation went the same way. "What do you do, Emma?" "I work in property management." "Oh, that's nice." Then they'd turn to someone more interesting. I watched Diane work the room. She was in her element, talking, laughing, playing the role of charitable society matron. She barely looked at me all night, until the speeches started. Richard gave a short welcome, thanked everyone for coming, introduced a few major donors. Then Diane took the microphone. "As many of you know, the Harrington Foundation is dedicated to supporting education and opportunity for underprivileged youth. We believe that everyone, regardless of their background, deserves a chance to succeed." She paused, smiled, and then her eyes found mine. It's important to remember that we all come from different places. Some of us are born into privilege, others have to work harder, climb further, and sometimes people try to take shortcuts, try to find easier paths to success. My stomach tightened. As a family, we're always cautious about who we let into our inner circle. We've learned over the years that not everyone has good intentions. Some people see an opportunity and they take it. They latch on. They pretend to be something they're not. Alexander's hand found mine under the table. He squeezed, but he didn't stand up, didn't stop her. So I just want to take a moment to remind everyone here, character matters, integrity matters, and we should always be careful about who we trust, who we welcome into our lives, because sometimes people aren't what they seem. She smiled, looked directly at me, and raised her glass. To honesty, to authenticity, and to knowing your worth. The room applauded. I sat there, frozen, humiliated in front of 500 people. Alexander leaned over. She's just drunk, don't take it personally. But it was personal. She'd just called me a gold digger in front of New York's elite, and everyone knew it. Charlotte was smirking from across the table. I excused myself, went to the bathroom, stared at myself in the mirror, and I made a decision. I was done pretending. The next morning, I called my assistant, my real assistant, the one who ran my actual calendar. I need you to pull all active leases for Harrington Capital. The investment firm? Yes, they lease office space from us. I want to know the terms, the rates, everything. Give me an hour. She called back 45 minutes later. Harrington Capital leases the entire 14th floor at 550 Madison Avenue. 20-year lease, signed in 2019. Current rate is $210,000 per month. Lease is up for renewal in 6 months. What about residential? Richard Harrington leases a penthouse at the Laureate on East 72nd. Diane Harrington is listed as a co-tenant. Rent is $48,000 per month. They've been there for 11 years. And Charlotte? Charlotte Harrington leases a 2-bedroom at the Greenwich on West 13th. Rent is $12,000 per month. I smiled. They were all my tenants, every single one of them. I didn't tell Alexander immediately. I wanted to see how far his family would push. The answer? Pretty far. Diane called him 2 days after the gala, told him she was concerned about our relationship, that she'd done some research and couldn't find much about my background, that she thought I was hiding something. She wasn't wrong. Charlotte posted another story. This time it was a screenshot of a LinkedIn profile. Not mine, because I didn't have a public one, but someone with a similar name who worked in property management. The caption, when you Google your brother's girlfriend and this is what comes up. Alexander was furious. He confronted them. They denied it was about me, said he was being paranoid. But they didn't stop, and I didn't break. Because I was waiting for the right moment. That moment came in early November. Alexander told me his father wanted to meet with the landlord of their office building, something about renegotiating the lease terms early, getting a better rate. He's been trying to set up a meeting for weeks, but apparently the owner is really hard to get a hold of. That's frustrating, I said. Yeah, Dad's getting annoyed. He's used to people taking his calls. I said nothing. 3 days later, Alexander mentioned it again. Weird thing, Dad finally got a meeting with the building owner, but it's at their office, not the building, and apparently the owner is super private, doesn't do public meetings. When's the meeting? Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Huh. I waited until that night, then I told him, I can't see you tomorrow, I have a work thing. What kind of work thing? Just a meeting with my boss. Should be quick, but I have to be there. Oh, okay, no problem. He kissed me goodnight, and I went home and prepared. The Castellano Properties Group headquarters occupied the top 3 floors of a glass tower in Midtown. Floor-to-ceiling windows, modern furniture, art that was actually interesting. My office was on the 40th floor, corner view. I rarely used it, preferred to work from home most days. But tomorrow, I'd be there. At 1:45 p.m., my assistant called. The Harringtons are here. Conference room A? Yes, I'll be there in 5 minutes. I stood, smoothed my dress, navy blue, tailored, professional. I looked like a CEO, because I was. I walked down the hall, my heels clicked on marble. I nodded at employees who stepped aside when they saw me coming. I stopped outside the conference room, took a breath, and opened the door. Richard was sitting at the head of the table, Diane next to him. both dressed like they were closing a deal. They looked up. Richard smiled. "Ah, you must be—" He stopped. His face went white. Diane's mouth opened, then closed. "Emma," Richard said slowly, "what are you doing here?" I smiled, walked to the other end of the table, sat down. "I'm here for our meeting, Mr. Harrington. You wanted to discuss your lease at 550 Madison Avenue. I don't understand. You work here?" "I own here." Silence. "I'm sorry." Diane's voice was sharp, defensive. "Castellano Properties Group. My father founded it. He left it to me when he died. I'm the CEO. I own this company, which means I own 550 Madison Avenue, where you lease your office space." Richard's jaw tightened. "This is a joke." "It's not. Would you like to see my ID? My business license? The deed to the building?" Diane stood up. "Richard told us you were an assistant." "I am. I assist myself in running a $4.2 billion real estate portfolio." She looked like she'd been slapped. "Why would you lie about this?" "I didn't lie. You assumed, and I let you, because I wanted to see how you'd treat someone you thought was beneath you." "This is ridiculous. Is it? You called me a gold digger at your gala. Your daughter mocked me on social media. You told your son I was using him, all because you thought I was poor." Richard cleared his throat. "Emma, I think there's been a misunderstanding." "There hasn't. You made it very clear how you feel about people you consider, what did you call it? Not good enough." "We didn't mean—" "You did. And now you're sitting in my conference room asking me for a favor, asking me to lower your rent, the rent on the building I own, the building your entire business operates out of." The room was silent. "I also own the Laureate, where you live, and the Greenwich, where Charlotte lives. You're all my tenants, all of you." Diane sat back down, slowly. "So here's what's going to happen," I said. "Your office lease comes up for renewal in 6 months. I'm not renewing it. You have until May to vacate." "You can't." "I can. It's my building, and I'm choosing not to do business with you anymore." "We'll sue." "For what? I'm not breaking the lease. I'm simply choosing not to renew, which is my right." Richard's face was red. "This is because of Alexander. This is because you humiliated me in front of 500 people, because you made assumptions about who I was based on how much money you thought I had, because you treated me like garbage, and now you want me to do you a favor?" I stood up. "Your residential leases are fine, for now, but I'd recommend being better tenants going forward." I walked to the door, stopped, turned back. "Oh, and Alexander doesn't know about any of this. I haven't told him who I am, so when you see him tonight, you can explain why you're suddenly very interested in his girlfriend's career." I left. Behind me, I heard Diane start crying. Alexander called me 4 hours later. "We need to talk." "I know. My parents just told me." "Emma, is it true?" "Yes." "You're a billionaire?" "Yes." "And you didn't tell me?" "No." Silence. "Why?" "Because I wanted someone to love me for me, not for my money, not for my connections, not for what I could do for them, just me." "You think I wouldn't have?" "I think your family wouldn't have let you." He didn't argue. "My mother is devastated." "She should be." "Emma, she didn't know." "She knew exactly what she was doing. She just didn't know who she was doing it to." More silence. "I don't know what to do," he said quietly. "That's up to you, Alexander, but I'm done pretending to be someone I'm not, and I'm done with people who only value me when they think I'm useful." "So that's it? We're over?" "I don't know. Are we?" He didn't answer. We broke up 2 days later. 6 months later, Harrington Capital moved to a smaller office in a building downtown. Richard aged 10 years in the process. Charlotte stopped posting about me. In fact, she tried to add me on LinkedIn. I declined. Diane sent me a letter, handwritten, 4 pages of apologies and explanations and excuses. I didn't respond. Alexander texted occasionally. "Hope you're doing well. Saw an article about you. Congratulations." "I'm sorry." I didn't respond to those either. Because here's what I learned. People will always show you who they are when they think you can't do anything about it. The Harringtons treated me like trash because they thought I was powerless, but I wasn't. I never was, and the moment they realized that, everything changed. Not because I changed, because their perception did. And that's the thing about revenge. It's not about hurting people, it's about showing them exactly who they hurt and making sure they never forget. My name is Emma Castellano. I'm worth $4.2 billion, and I don't hide anymore. Not for anyone.